A couple of weeks ago, we designed a chain plate distributor like this, and now we are going to design a line terminator for a shroud like this. Yes, people, it is the future, and we are designing terminators. Stay tuned.
I'll be back.
Hey baby, won't you sail with me out on the rolling sea? We'll find some place to go, maybe down to Barbados. It's an island off somewhere in the middle of nowhere, sailing to freedom, you and me.
Ah, the sea and the girls, oh the girls. Lovely sun-kissed bikini-clad wonders. They dance on the deck laughing, their hair catching the salty breeze. Oh, you beauties, you make the waves jealous. A toast to you, my lovely sea sirens. Ah, the life of a sailor surrounded by beauty and the endless horizon.
Wake up, Plucky, goddammit.
For fuck's sake, Bart, you yanked me out of a goddamn paradise in my head. I was on a beach with rum and bikini girls.
Oh, boo fucking who, Plucky? Your imaginary harem can wait. That catamaran's rigging is a shit show and you know it.
The rigging's fine, you Belgian buzzkill. It's got character.
Character? It's got more knots than your brain after a night of beach idiocy.
You know what, Bart? Feck you and your clipboard. I don't need a lecture from a guy who asked AI how to sail this morning.
Oh, that's rich coming from Captain Daydream over here. Get your shit together, Plucky, or this catamaran's going to sink faster than your dignity.
Fine, I'll fix the damn rigging, but if I find one more of your helpful notes taped to my tools, I'm shoving them up yours.
Deal, but if you screw this up, don't come crying to me when you're stranded in the middle of the ocean with nothing but your character to keep you afloat.
I got a question in the comments about where this chain plate distributor goes. Well, it goes right here and can be attached straight to the chain plate. Now this week we are looking at the line terminator of the Dyneema shroud on the top side of these lashings. So what we have is 17mm Dyneema, but does that mean the diameter is exactly 17mm? Anyone that's worked with any Dyneema before, it's actually oblong in shape. And in fact, if you look at this Dyneema here, well, ours goes down to about 15mm and goes up to about 19.5mm to 20mm. Now, when we're actually designing the line terminator, we actually have to bend it round a radius of about 50mm. And so that actually expands the thread. And of course, it depends on which way you lie the Dyneema down. Are you lying it with its major axis perpendicular to the terminator or the other way? It actually expands out to about 21mm. So we've got to make sure the channel in this line terminator is about 21mm. Now we want to cover two situations. The first is where we have the chain plate distributor going straight to the terminators with lashings like this. The lashings are usually 6 or 8mm diameter, so the holes need to be, say, 8.5mm diameter. The holes need to be spread out around the terminator so there's plenty of metal to support the lashings. Now, as a backup, if the lashings are not used and we have a turnbuckle going straight to the terminator like this, then the hole needs to be close enough to the edge to fit the toggle, which has about a jaw depth of 53mm. But it can't be too close, so we have enough metal to support the pin. Should we try and cheat and do the radiuses on those and not do grooves?
This is 9mm, but...
No, it's too big. That's 6?
Yeah.
So with the radii on the sharp corners, now the lashings won't chafe. Done, good people. Good on you, Bart. Now, in actual fact, on my boat, we're going to be using turnbuckles and lashings to the Dyneema shroud. And you're probably thinking, that's crazy. Why are you doing this? Well, there's a couple of reasons. Now, who has worked with stainless steel wire in making a shroud or a forestay? Now, if you've done it, you ought to know it's actually quite easy to get almost the exact pin-to-pin length when you're doing your stainless steel wire. It's because the stainless steel wire doesn't really unravel or stretch. So when you got your measuring tape, you can get a pretty good guess about what length you need. The only fudgy thing is where you have your stay lock, where you might be 5 or 10mm out. So on an 18 meter shroud, for example, you might be within 10 millimeters of the correct length. Now that's great with stainless steel. Now when you're doing a Brummel splice with Dyneema, it's not so accurate. Now there's two reasons, actually there's lots of reasons, right? So even if you get pre-stretched, preheated Dyneema like SK78 or SK99, which is the bee's knees, or D20, or doesn't matter. Even if you get the pre-stretched or preheated stuff, right? The fact of the matter, after they've stretched it, they then put it on a spool of diameter of like 180 mil, which in effect starts to disorganize the fibers, okay? And then you, in your dining room, when you go, oh, I'm going to do some Brummel splicing today, you then take it off the spool and you further disorganize the fibers. And so when you're trying to get pin to pin length doing a Dyneema shroud, you're not going to be so exact, because even if you stretch it on the floor, you get one beefy guy on one end, one beefy guy on the other end, and you stretch it, it's not going to be that length, because when you put it under load on your rig, it's going to, under the tension, the fibers are going to settle themselves and it's going to stretch a little bit before it actually takes up the true tension in the fibers. And that's a bit of give or take. It's hard to get that right. So if it's hard to get that right, what you do is you do your shroud to a rough length. Then you're going to have added to that, you're going to have lashings of say a couple of feet or 3 feet, and then you're going to have a turnbuckle. And you're probably thinking, geez, there's a lot of linkages to fail. Yes, it is, but it makes it easier, because once you've got a big boat, you get a slight temperature drop, right? Your shrouds are going to be loose, because you get let's say you're at 30 degrees and you get a hailstorm, a front comes through and it drops 15 degrees. Well, your entire boat, aluminium boat, or doesn't matter, any boat, is going to shrink. Mast's going to shrink. Well, Dyneema stretches. It's opposite. So you're going to have loose shrouds. So that's not a good thing. So if you see the front coming through, you can actually get on the turnbuckle and do it up. But if you don't have a turnbuckle to do a quick adjustment, it becomes complicated when you need to redo the lashings with a new tension. First we undo the frapping knot here, which is a tiny line that holds all the lashings together under tension. Of course we have a chicky babe at the winch, and she applies some tension which pulls down on the lashing here, and then in the case here we've got 8-to-1, we get a tightening of the shroud. We also have an opposing rope here to balance the force from the winch, so the thimble remains in line with the shroud. Now this is done on both sides together in a calm anchorage, so you can keep the mast plumb and get the tensions correct. On a big boat with slight temperature changes, well, it's just easier to have a turnbuckle. So we have the lashings to make up for our incompetence when we're doing the shroud pin to pin, because doing the Brummel splice, as I said, it's hard to get the exact length. The lashings takes it up, and the turnbuckle gives you the ease to give you the tension.
Hi everyone, we're back again and we're here with one of our sponsors, Marlow Ropes. Let me introduce you to Paul. Paul was actually one of the first guy I met when I was here last year, and yeah, great to have you on board, and feel free to introduce yourself, Paul, and your company.
Yeah, glad to be on board. So Marlow Ropes is a company that makes running rigging and mooring lines for sailboats and motorboats. The company has history going back over 200 years on the manufacturing site in the UK, where we manufacture all of our ropes. One of the things that excited us about this project was the sustainability aspect of it, and we've been one of the first rope makers to use ropes made from recycled or sustainable alternatives. So this project we see as a good flagship and endorsement for pushing all of that technology.
Oh, great! Yeah, I understood that your company was already has a really long history. So,
yep.
And you're also experts on all the modern fibers and so on.
Yeah,
so maybe we can tell a little bit more about that, because I don't know all the stuff. I know Dyneema, but I read a lot of other words on your website. So
Yep. Yeah, so we try and do a full range all the way from dinghy all the way up to super yachts, basically. And all of the fibres we use in our manufacturing are all modern fibres. So we don't use any natural fibres anymore, such as hemp and sisal, but we do use these modern fibres. And we use a whole range. So nylon, for example, is a basic fibre that we use, which is very stretchy, so it tends to be used a lot in mooring. By far the most common fibre we use is polyester, and that can either be used in the cores of ropes or in the covers of ropes. And then you get onto the more technical fibres that you mentioned there. So Dyneema is a very high strength, very low weight fibre, and then we can blend, as we've got on here as well, different materials into the cover to give different attributes for better longevity. You know, that's the other thing that we talk about is you know, we try and make our ropes last longer, so therefore they're more sustainable, than you don't have to keep replacing them all the time. So especially on some of the bigger yachts nowadays, the loads and the conditions they're under, you have to blend them with these materials to make them last longer. For example, a large super yacht, if you're easing a really big sheet on a super yacht, the friction and the loads are so high that if you just use polyester, as I mentioned earlier, for the cover, you'll melt it. So you end up with a big melted mess on your winch. So another way of getting around that is to blend it with different materials. Technora, aramids, all have very good heat resistance. You also, if you're putting wraps around a winch to hold the load, it's more grippy. So perhaps where you were using 5 wraps on a winch for a polyester, you might only need 3 with a Technora and polyester. So if you're racing, for example, it improves your speed with regards to manoeuvres because you're taking less wraps off the winch before you put more wraps on. So there's all these little variances. By far the most expensive and most heat resistant is what we call PBO. Okay. It's very, very expensive, only gets used on the top super yachts. It has a melting point of over 500 degrees. And it eases nicely and stays soft and supple, but for whatever reason, the manufacturer has a very high price on it, probably because it's not mass produced. But yeah, we blend them with other materials such as Technora and polyester, all to give different attributes on board the winch. So some you might want more sticky, or on a spinnaker sheet you might want something that's a little bit more slippery, so you can control the sail a little better. So yeah, this is all used in when we're putting together our rope range at various different levels. The other thing we do a lot of nowadays as well is for climbing the rig. So a lot of people in years gone by would climb the rig on a halyard, but now health and safety are getting more and more involved in that. So these are actually ropes that are used by guys that abseil off buildings. Now that has to be incorporated into most climbing at height on, especially on large super yachts that have very tall rigs. So
very
it's
impressive.
All coming together. The technology is advanced, and obviously what we're trying to do, as I mentioned at the beginning of the interview, is bring more sustainability into that now. So the polyester that we mentioned before, we're trying to use the what we call our blue ocean polyester, which is the one that's made from recycled plastic bottles. So, for example, on this project that we're talking about here, we have our Blue Ocean Doublebraid. So this will be used for the majority of the running rigging on board the boat. So this is made with 75% recycled plastic bottles. So the core is made from it, and about 50% of the cover is. The problem that we have is we've found a very good polyester yarn that has very good strength, but at the moment we can only get it really in black and white. So when you have to colour the ropes for all the various applications on board, we still have to use virgin polyester for that.
Okay, but it's one strand, so I see. So,
so it's mixed together in there as well. Yeah, and what we do with our ropes as well is we pre-stretch them. So a lot of the ropes on this, you'll see where you've got the cut-off end there, it's not falling apart, because the pre-stretching helps hold it together. You can see it's springing. So both the core and the cover do that. So the idea is it's pre-stretched, so it takes a lot of the initial stretch out of the rope when you're controlling the sails. So the chances are you'll have to do less adjustments if you're sailing across an ocean and that sort of thing, basically.
Cool, really?
So the majority of the project will be rigged with this, and then we also have some lines that may have a Dyneema core. As you mentioned earlier, you've heard a little bit about Dyneema, so it's a super high strength, super lightweight fibre. But what we're doing now is we're using the bio alternative of that, because the main ingredient in Dyneema is ethanol. So you can either get that from oil and gas industry, which we're trying to move away from. So where we get it from is the wood pulping industry. So Dyneema have used this mass balancing approach to get some of the ethanol they need from the wood pulping industry, basically. So because it comes from wood, and plant more trees, therefore it's more sustainable.
So just to be clear, all of our running rigging is going to be Blue Ocean series, which is made of 75% plastic bottles. And there is no difference in strength between the Blue Ocean polyester ropes or any other polyester ropes. And our Dyneema is sourced from bioethanol. Now, it's chemically the same as the ethanol you get from petroleum products. So there's no difference in strength with the Dyneema. So don't be alarmed. It's basically ethanol, you dehydrate it, you get ethylene, or if you want to use the IUPAC ethene name, I don't know why people don't use IUPAC, because it just makes sense. It's easy to go, oh, I know what you're talking about. If you don't know what I'm talking about, well, maybe pick up a chemistry textbook. It's much more, what's better, simpler and easier, IUPAC. But anyway, we've got ethylene, and then you simply polymerize that and we get polyethylene, but it should be polyethylene. Good on you, Bart, for going to the boat show and rustling up an excellent sponsor, and good on Marlow Ropes for sponsoring us at the Elcano World Challenge. Now, if you wanted to check out what Marlow Ropes has to offer, they've got two websites, both a UK and USA website. The links are in the description.